My guest in the Nimataion today is Damh the Bard, and together we are spinning a yarn. Damh, it's great to have you here. You're a bard, a storyteller, modern bard. You're the Pendragon of the Obot, world's largest druid order. What have I forgot?
Don't know. Did you say musician or songwriter?
Musician, of course.
Because I'm probably that before most of those other things.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. You tell stories with your music.
That's right. I think I'm just three-quarters of the way through retelling the Mabinogion story and song, and I think that's what really inspires me about the Bard is the telling of mythology through music, and music is such a common language. It's a worldwide language. So yes, that's where my heart is, definitely.
Yeah. And the Mabinogi is amongst my most loved mythologies. So.
Yes, indeed. And the Mabinogi is supposed to be heard and not read. And most of the Mabinogi is in paper form. So that I really wanted to, with those albums, make it back into an oral tradition of listening to the actual stories themselves.
Yeah. So anyone interested in your music, your webpage is in the show notes as always. But yeah, what has been your favorite childhood story?
Okay, well, I'm so happy to be on your show because nobody, I don't think, has ever asked me that question before. So when you asked me, I thought, what was it? And I think if I think back to my childhood, one of the first books I read was The Folk of the Faraway Tree by Enid Blyton. And in that you had this tree that was home to all of these different people. You had Tin Pot Man, you had Moon-Faced, you had the old washerwoman who tipped stuff out, and it was just an entire different world. And I think when I really think back to my childhood, it was books like The Folk of the Faraway Tree, and my mother used to read me books from a Cornish fairy story book called Spridgeons and Treacle, which was all about Spridgeons, which are Celtic Cornish fairy who are like the genus Loki of sacred sites, and that there's a tradition in fairy lore of the treacle mine, and all of those things just used to inspire my imagination as a child. And I think it was reading and listening to those stories as a child that really planted the seed of my interest in folklore, in magic, in the realm of fairy and the other world, that has continued to be my main love for the rest of my life. And so I think it was planted by those books in an early age. And then and do we need to edit that out?
No problem.
Okay.
Problem. Just go on.
Sorry, I didn't turn off that particular ringtone. Isn't that amazing?
The other one.
Hey, Bernard, this is live podcasting, isn't it? There you go. What can we say? So to continue, those led me into one other area where I think the real pagan heart was planted, and that was on a Saturday or a Sunday night when I was in my teens watching Robin of Sherwood on the TV. Those Robin Hood stories in that program, they held the mythology, they held the magic, and then every now and again we met face to face with Herne the Hunter in the forest. And that was the first time I had seen a horned god of the woodland. And I don't know if this is true, but I have a sneaky feeling that Robin of Sherwood planted a seed of a pagan heart in a lot of people who watched that show.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
I had Julian Wayne on the show, and this was his favorite story as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So I think really, the Folk of the Faraway Tree, Spridgeons and Treacle, those fairy stories led into that moment of watching Robin of Sherwood, which then placed my feet firmly on my path that I'm still walking to this day.
Yeah. And you told me before we hit the record button that your stage name is also a stag name, because Damh the Bard, as it is pronounced correctly in Gaelic,
Yes.
means also stag.
It's stag, and my love of the stag, my love of deer in general, probably also, well, without a doubt, came from those images of Herne. And you know, if you listen to my music, I dedicate a lot of my songs to Old Horny, to the horn god of nature, the expression of that side of nature that just continues to be one of my greatest loves, and you know, probably will always be, because of good old Robin of Sherwood and Richard Carpenter.
Yeah. I remember distinctly when I saw it on TV as a child. I get goosebumps now just remembering it. This it was the pilot episode. I think when Herne appeared for the first time out of the mists, it was just magic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the music as well, you know, Clanad's introduction. Yeah. I've just got to hear that intro, that first few keyboards, do do do, whoom, and it all just, even now it brings me out in goosebumps. You know, Robin Hooded Man. Oh, it's just magical, absolutely magical. We could do with more of those kind of programs on telly. I think the closest we've got it in recent years was the Merlin series that was on telly, which didn't at all, you know, contain any real Merlin mythology. But somehow I think it also contained a little bit of that magic that I witnessed in the Robin of Sherwood series.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think we could do with something like that back on the TV, really.
Yeah. It's such a rich treasure, and it. I don't know. The only other thing that touched upon this, in my opinion, was Children of the Stones in a quite different way, but it
I remember that
from this magical culture of the British Isles, I think.
Yes. I mean, there were a number of those, and children's TV shows had an edge to them in my experience back then. You know, there was a program called Sky that I remember, about an alien who had blue eyes, and full blue eyes. And I remember the Children of the Stones, but I also remember a series called Paper House, which was about a young boy who was ill, who drew a house, and the house became part of his dreams. And also, of course, the Owl Service. The Owl Service is based on the fourth branch of the Mabinogi. With Blodeuwedd and Gwydion and everything else, and these are all from our childhood. But absolutely.
Yeah. So, do you think it would be too far-fetched to say that entities have tapped you on the shoulder with these stories, that you became a storyteller to tell those old stories in a modern form?
Without a doubt, in my experience and my opinion of how that was led, I've always felt like I have a mouth at my ear, whispering into my ear. And sometimes when you write songs, they're really hard, and that mouth isn't speaking to you. But sometimes when you write a song, you look at the page, or I look at the page, and I wonder, where did that come from? Because it just seems to have materialized. There's hardly any crossings out, there's hardly any corrections, and it really is like there's another face beside me, just whispering into my ear, guiding me to tell their stories. And whenever I play live, before I go on stage, I always just take a moment, literally just before I'm about to walk on the stage, I close my eyes, I breathe deeply, and I ask that my stories and my songs tell your stories with honor and with respect. And I do your stories and your your energy justice, and that you guide me through this performance. So may it be, and then I'll walk on stage, and so yes, definitely.
I do a very similar thing. I go on stage to not with music, but I tell fairy stories or myths or something like that, and also before I go on stage, I allow myself to go out of the way, and I ask the stories or the storytellers who came before me to just guide me and tell the stories that the audience has to hear right now in a way that is appropriate for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to think of it as edutainment. I know that's an awful thing, but you're kind of like, you're entertaining, but at the same time, I realize that not everybody is as connected or knows as much about this stuff as we do as storytellers. And it's like you take people on a magical journey for an hour and a half. And that to me is absolutely a path of channeling the Awen, the inspiration, all those things,
The Awen is for people who don't know, it's the word for the bardic inspiration.
That's right. Absolutely.
As I experience it, it is quite visceral. It's not only cognitive or mental. It's really an embodied experience to be touched by Awen or to be led by it.
Yes, it feels to me that's what the Awen is, like that whispered voice, a guiding voice. But it's an elusive mistress as well. It's not like the life force that is always there while you're alive. It's something you have to search for sometimes, and you have to almost like it's always there, but you have to slightly step to one side to step into it. It's like the other world to me. I think the other world is all around us. It's just slightly over there. And you have to just move slightly over there to experience it.
There you go. That's it. And it's sort of like you have to be worthy of the stories you're telling.
Well, I think for me, it comes in the opposite direction. I think that it's up to me to do a good job.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant.
So I don't feel like I need to be worthy. I don't put that pressure on myself.
Sorry. That's what I was going for.
So I don't think it's up to me being somehow special. It's up to me, making sure I do them well, and listen to that voice and get guided by the entities, the spirits who wish their tales to be told.
Is there a special entity that's guiding you? Would you say it's Hearn?
It's always been the horned god to me. I don't tend to differentiate between Hearn, Cernunnos. I know in mythology they have different stories, they have different energies, but I open up to whichever of those want to talk to me. My altars are full of horned deities, but also, to me, I don't see Hearn or the horned god as an embodiment of a human shape with horns. That's how I think the energy shows itself to me. But that is not what it looks like in reality. In reality, I feel that it is literally the spiritual energy of the green part of nature. So when you walk into the woods and you commune with that energy that is within the woodland, that is the horned god's energy. But and I see that energy in this shape, but that's because I don't understand any other particular way of seeing it,
It's exactly the same as it presents itself to me.
I think it's more animistic than polytheistic. I think that's what it is.
Yes.
I find the the animistic energy of the woodland is what I'm connecting with, that is showing itself in a particular shape, but I don't revere it as a god of itself. I think that's yeah.
It's
yeah.
Dave, that has been such joy, and to talk with someone who also experiences this kind of Awen and the Horned God in the same way. It's quite rare. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome, and thank you for inviting me on your show. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for asking me a question that's kind of made me think. It's been brilliant.
Great. I'm happy to talk with you again.
Yeah.
And until then, thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
The world is magical.